Mark it in your calendars, wrestling fans, because we are about to embark on yet another All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view, and this one is known as Full Gear. Now, I know Full Gear means something in America. It goes over my head. Look, I'm an idiot sometimes. I can be a little bit naive. To me, odd name for a pay-per-view, but names never matter. Do you remember we were moaning about the Viking Raiders? Now we don't care. The Viking Experience, Eric, Ivar, a couple of goofs, you can call them whatever you want. But before we do get to Saturday, and before we do get to AEW Full Gear, you know what we have to do. We got to go through every single match, and we've got to predict the outcomes, mainly because if I'm right, I can then be a proud Pete. Make sure you join me in those comments below. Make sure you subscribe. Let's predict AEW Full Gear. We'll start with the pre-show, which is Priestley versus Britt Baker in a grudge match, especially because on AEW Dark this week, the dentist was really pissed off and told us how she's gonna rearrange Priestley's mouth. Isn't wrestling weird? Given that we have been building this up for a few months and this is their first proper match, I don't think you're just gonna throw it away. So if we take wrestling logic into this, it probably means that Priestley has to win, and therefore, Britt Baker can make her big comeback when she eventually beats her new foe. It's a bit strange it's on the pre-show though. I know we do have the women's title match on the main show, but I wouldn't mind if this switching for something else. I wouldn't mind seeing Britt Baker versus Priestley in the main card, but I'm gonna go with B to win. See, now I usually would say too there'll be shenanigans or there'll be some distractions, but I know that All Elite Wrestling is trying to stay away from that. So I'm a little worried to do it, but I think here, again, given that it is on the buy-in, they can probably get away with it. So yes, Priestley wins. After nonsense, maybe she uses the turnbuckle or a weapon. Referee will be distracted. Actually, it's not that bad in All Elite Wrestling, because they don't do that very much. It's always about the law of diminishing returns. Man, I run that into the ground. The pay-per-view will then start, and if I had to guess, I would say that our first match will be Joey Janela versus Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard in his corner. And if you did watch my ups and downs this week for AEW Dynamite, a little surprised we rushed this build like we did, especially because I ain't too overly excited to see them go at it. You could have put it on Dynamite next week. You could have held it off to the next pay-per-view, whatever the hell that's going to be. But we are getting it. And given that Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears stuck a cigarette down Joey Janela's mouth, and it seems like they're going to push Joey Janela quite hard. He's going to enter a program with Jimmy Havoc, it looks like. I'm going to put my money on him. At the moment, too, this is a straight-up singles match, but as we know, Janela is borderline bonkers, so do not expect this to stay in the ring. I imagine it'll brawl to the outside, and when they are there, they're going to come up with some crazy concoction of violence, which seems mainly Joey Janela getting his ass beaten in ways you could only dream about. And if you are dreaming about that kind of stuff, try and change up your dreams. It can't be good for your everyday life. As wins and losses do matter though, that would not look good for Shawn Spears, because obviously he lost to Cody Rhodes, and now he's back on pay-per-view and he's losing again. But looking into the future, looking down my crystal ball, I think there's more things that we can do with Janela. He probably needs a big win. This is it. Joey gets the W. We then move on to what could be one of the best matches of the night, because the Tag Team Championships are on the line as brand new title holders SCU have a rematch against the Lucha brothers, but also Private Party have snuck their way in there too. I know it's a different show, but I'm already going to give this an up, because it's going to be nuts. You know the AEW formula when it comes to tag team matches. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It will start off slow, then all 6 guys will be in the ring, and they will be doing so many moves, you'll be trying to write them down, but you won't be able to move fast enough. Your hand and your pen writing speed is slower than these men. I also think we have to allow Kazarian and Scorpio Sky to hold on to their championships here, because you don't want to start throwing around the gold like a hot potato. One of the reasons that Chris Jericho is becoming this awesome world champion is that he holds on to it, and it really, really means something, and we've got to do the same with the tag team belts too. Otherwise, we're going to get a WWE women's tag team situation where whoever holds them all of a sudden gets dragged down into the floor. And a small part of me thinks maybe that's why Private Party got put into this in the first place. And that's no disrespect for them. They are an incredible team and they are going to have an incredible future, but you don't want to beat Phoenix and Pentagon. I mean, they are on their way to be mega stars too, whereas Private Party right now could probably take a loss and we're not going to mind too much. And then maybe you carry on the SCU versus Lucha Brothers feud and you bring Christopher Daniels back into it. Like, I don't really know how that works, but it's an option. So I'm going to say that SCU do get the victory and they pin a member of Private Party to get it. Maybe Cassidy. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're a team. That's what I'm going with. So that's a retention. Another championship is on the line, and it is the AEW Women's Belt, which means Riho is getting against Sakura. And don't forget, if you missed it on Dynamite, Sakura used the most devastating move in all of wrestling, and she surprise rolled up Riho, which means she now has a technical victory over her, even though, of course, it wasn't a tag match. But I am going to be very boring, and this is going to give away predictions for the rest of the show when belts are on the line. Once again, you have to keep it on Riho for all the reasons I just talked about. That is especially true here, because everyone on their dog thinks Riho is the best thing since sliced bread. If you do some random angle where Sakura walks away with it, I actually think the fans will be quite pissed off, and not in the good way. Then we're kind of entering like Baron Corbin territory in December 2018, and we all remember Constable. The real key is what we do to end this, because Riho has finished off a lot of her opponents with the most surprising move in all wrestling. The roll up here, I need it nice and simple. I think her finisher is like the double foot stomp, or at least that's what I've been led to believe. I'm still getting to know about these characters, which is cool, but hit that on Sakura in the middle of the ring, or maybe drag her a bit close to the ropes, so you can smash it and get the 1, 2, 3, and come out there looking like the strongest warrior possible. The whole wins and losses thing then comes into focus once more, because we have Hangman Adam Page versus Pac. I cannot wait to see this. I think the build has been excellent. I love the fact that Pac on Dynamite was just slamming Hangman Page in the balls because he is a bastard. And you know what? I've thought about this. I've seen the whole arc with Pac, as the commentators keep telling me he loves wins more than anything because he understands where it can lead. I'm going with the man from Newcastle in the United Kingdom. Of course, this will ask the question, what next for Mr. Page? Because he's had 2 big matches in All Elite Wrestling. He lost the first one to Chris Jericho, and if I'm right, he lost another one to Pac. So do you know what I think we should do, or what we could do? You could turn him heel, or at least start to tease a heel turn. You open up more options for matches. I think it would be like give him a cool edge. I wouldn't be against it at all. You've also got to make sure that Pac looks like an absolute badass here, because again, if I'm guessing what's going to happen in a few days, a few weeks, a few months, I think he's going to be the next challenger for the AEW World title, which also makes no sense when we do talk about the match that we're having on this evening. But Pac will win. I bet he brutalizes Hangman Page and makes him submit, and he'll probably use a weapon too, because he's a dick. We're also going to get the first teasers of a bigger program between the Inner Circle and the Elite, because the Young Bucks are going to try and settle their issues with Santana and Ortiz. And once again, this is probably going to be just wonderful. It puts me in a dilemma once more, and I understand I'm repeating myself, but that is just the aura, the All Elite Wrestling, the atmosphere, I should say, they've created. Because you can argue this both ways if we're looking at it from a sporting contest. The former LAX are a pretty brand new tag team, right? They've on the scene, they're doing well in the Inner Circle, but they can't just lose because that will make them look rubbish. But the Young Bucks are coming off a loss all of their own, because we thought they were going to be in the tag team finals. They weren't, because they lost a private party in that very good opening match on Dynamite a few weeks ago. So what do? I genuinely don't know, but I hope there's a long-term story in place so that whoever we do go with, we get there. And given that the Inner Circle are the heel group and they're on top of the world, they're a bit NWO-ish and they're trying to take over the company, I'm going to go for Santana and Ortiz, but I really can't for the life of me work out how All Elite Wrestling is going to pay that off. And that, my friends, is absolutely awesome. I want to be able to guess and I want to be able to fantasy book, but deep down in my gut, I want to have that little shrug emoji guy who's going, well, I mean, maybe Simon, but maybe not. We'll have to tune in and see. Because if I want to tune in and see, you're doing your job. So yeah, I think the Young Bucks are going to lose again. And who thought that? They own their own promotion and they keep booking themselves to lose. We are living in a very strange timeline. Maybe one that's being controlled by Jim Cornette. Right, so it certainly does sound like that our AEW World title match between Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho isn't actually going to be the main event, because we do have the unsanctioned light outs match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, and because AEW has said legally we're not involved here, that will technically go on after the show, which means this would be our main event, even though when you're watching it structure-wise, it's not the main event. It's all very confusing. We used to do it back in the day, but still. And boy, howdy, do we have a big narrative to get into here, because not only has Cody said that if he doesn't beat Chris Jericho, he's never going to challenge for that world title again. I think we're about to see our first big turn, and it's a turn that's gonna blow your socks off. Because we all know about the teases with MJF since day one. He's kind of a heel, but he loves Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes is one of the biggest faces in the company. But that's why the time has come to turn MJF into the biggest bad guy in the world and have him beat up his best friend, just as he's about to win the championship. I'm not saying he should join the inner circle, but you certainly can play it like that if you so wish, but it just sets up the future so wonderfully. Cody can be devastated, Cody can be crushed, but Cody can also have a new mean streak running through him as he stares into the eyes of his brand new enemy, and throughout all of that, MJF can just keep becoming a bigger and bigger asshole. I mean, he's like here on the asshole scale. If he does this, he will get even higher still. I don't know why I bent my knees down there like a ballerina. I'm just getting excited. And if you want to go even further down the line, maybe, and I understand I have to come up with a good way to justify this, but maybe MJF can go on to win the World Championship. And I'm talking like maybe even 2 years down the line. And that's when Cody goes, you know what? Now it's time for my revenge. We come up with some kind of step where he is allowed to go after it. And finally, he exercises the demons and he whoops MJF's bum all over whatever arena they happen to be in on that pay-per-view. Everybody just calm down. But yes, I don't think you can take the belt off Chris Jericho for all the reasons I've already gone on about. And I just think that twist in the tail would be absolutely wonderful. Doesn't mean it is going to happen. I'll still put my money behind the former Y2J. But man, am I pumped for this. Cody Rhodes is a babyface I want to win, and Cody Rhodes is a babyface I want to get behind, and they are very few and far between in wrestling in 2019. 2 thumbs up for Mr. Rhodes. Can you believe it too? We have yet another dilemma when we get to Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in the unsanctioned match. I mean, you think about this right now. I'll throw the ball in your court. Who do you have win? Kenny Omega, he needs victories. Jon Moxley, he needs victories. Everybody needs victories. What I don't want to see happen is any kind of Hell in a Cell nonsense where it's a draw because they both killed each other by accident. AEW has to dig down in its pockets and decide who they want to win and put them over. And I actually think it should be Jon Moxley. I don't really know why either. I just think if you look at both parties, he's got the most momentum right now. And much like Pac, maybe that puts him in a position to go after the World Championship. And who doesn't want to see Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley, who of course used to be Dean Ambrose? If I had told you that was even had a potential of happening elsewhere outside of the WWE 2 years ago, even 12 months ago, you'd be like, Miller, what are you talking about? But we could do it, and we could do it on an AEW pay-per-view. That just blows my brain. And as a nerd fanboy, I want to see it. Kenny Omega will be fine anyway. He's a great wrestler. Everybody loves him. And when it is his time to be pushed to the top, he will be accepted in that role because, again, it's Kenny Omega. He had some of the best matches ever. But I love it. I love this card. I love this pay-per-view because really deep down, I am not sure about any of the things I've just said. And hopefully I've explained as to why that is the case. This is how I want to feel about professional wrestling. Confused, but in a sensical way. And that is illogical, but hopefully you take my point. I think AEW Full Gear is going to kick all the ass. Now, of course, make sure you leave a comment below and let us know who do you think is going to win, who do you think is going to lose. Are we going to see an MJF heel turn? I want to see it. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com. Read more articles about Full Gear. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. Stay up to date with all your AEW news and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching, and just enjoy this weekend. On Friday, you can watch Friday Night SmackDown, or Saturday morning, if you're like me. And on Saturday night, Sunday morning, you can watch AEW Full Gear. We have so much wrestling these days, I can't even keep up with it.